Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking this evening.
Nothing is a zero probability, but I think it's a low enough probability for us to invest, but we're not putting 10-20% of the portfolio. This is sort of mid-single digit to low single digit exposure. So we handicap it by that.
After investing nearly $2 billion into the Adani Group, Rajiv Jain of GQG Partners plays down the allegations made in the Hindenburg report. Says they did their own due diligence, asserts that GQG will be a long-term investor. That's a CNBC exclusive. A Morningstar report highlights the gender inequality in the mutual fund industry. Less than 10% of the total fund managers are women. They manage about 11% of the total mutual fund assets. Sources say that Axis Mutual Fund has appointed former Credit Suisse executive Ashish Gupta as their chief investment officer. Gupta quit Credit Suisse in November 2022 after a 14-year stint. He's known for his House of Debt report that first uncovered the extent of non-performing assets in the Indian banking industry. The government is currently holding discussions on a possible hike in the 5 lakh life insurance premium annual threshold, which will be subject to taxes. However, no decision has been taken yet. That's another exclusive. The U.S. Center for Disease Control has linked the deaths of at least 70 Gambian children due to acute kidney failure last year to cough syrups manufactured by Indian company Maiden Pharma. The report highlights that cough syrups were imported into Gambia, causing acute kidney injury among children. The Indian government gave a clean sheet to Maiden Pharma last year. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das launches Har Payment Digital campaign, even as the number of digital transactions per day rise 50% from 24 crore rupees per day in February last year to 36 crores per day this February. China sets a modest economic growth target of 5% as its national legislature began their annual session. The session is all set to ratify President Xi's third term and implement some crucial reforms. Premier Li said China's defense budget has been hiked by over 7%.
Biggest strength that you can have, belief in yourself. And if you're not your biggest cheerleader, God knows there's nobody else out there.
Sania Mirza asks young girls to be their own cheerleader and grow thick skin. A special conversation coming up. Well, let's head straight to the market action. The Sensex gained over 400 points and the Nifty gained nearly 120 points as the Lal Street began the week on a positive note. The Nifty managed to regain 17,700 despite coming off their intraday high in late trade. Bank stocks underperformed the blue chips this afternoon. Adani Group continued to see gains for the fifth session. 8 of the 10 group stocks, except Ambuja and ACC, closed in the green. The group also added 30,000 crores of market cap in this session. It's added back market cap worth over 2 lakh crore rupees in the last 5 trading sessions. Now, here's a CNBC exclusive. Seema Modi spoke with Rajiv Jain of GQG after their investment of over 15,000 crore rupees in the Adani Group. Jain said that they had done their due diligence before taking that bet.
On the higher side, probably yes, but there are good reasons why these stocks started running up.
Well, that is the big exclusive tonight. Rajiv Jain of GQG explaining their thesis on why they decided to invest in the Adani Group in the middle of this controversy. Now, LIC chairperson M.R. Kumar is also upbeat about the Adani Group's business prospects. He says he met with the Adani top management. Take a look.
I can only confirm that the conversation has happened with the department, but there's nothing I can state as of now on the outcome of that meeting. But yes, we have had the meeting.
Are you more confident than you were about a month ago on the business prospects, not the stock price, the business prospects?
I believe so. We are quite happy about the meeting.
Well, that's the LIC chief on their investments in the Adani Group. Now, in the run-up to International Women's Day, we here at CNBC-TV18 have been turning the spotlight on various sectors to make sense of gender representation. Let's talk about the mutual fund industry, where women are drastically underrepresented. Women constitute only 9.8% of total fund managers and manage about 11% of the total mutual fund assets. That's according to a report by Morningstar India. Shivani Bazaz has the details. Shivani.
Out of the total 428 fund managers in the Indian mutual fund industry, only 42 are women. reveals the Women in Fund Management report by Morningstar India. Even though the number of women fund managers has increased over the last 1 year from 32 in 2022 to 42 in 2023, women still remain drastically underrepresented in the mutual fund industry with a meager 9.81% representation. The report also suggests that the total assets managed by women fund managers is approximately rupees 4.43 lakh crore, which is 11% of the total mutual fund assets. Over the last few years, there has been a steady decline in the percentage of the assets managed by women fund managers. This dip in the total asset under management by women is attributed to the exits of two big names, Swati Kulkarni of UTI Mutual Fund and Lakshmi Iyer of Kotak Mutual Fund in the last 1 year. When it comes to the tenure and consistency, only 9 women fund managers have managed funds consistently for over 5 years. On the bright side, the report also suggests that 82% of the AUM managed by women fund managers has outperformed the peer group average on a 1-year basis.
Shivani, many thanks for joining us for a long distance to cover. Now, sources have told CNBC-TV18 that Axis Mutual Fund has appointed former Credit Suisse executive Ashish Gupta as the new Chief Investment Officer. Gupta left Credit Suisse in November last year. After a 14-year stint, he served as the India head for equity research in his last role. He's known for his House of Debt report in 2015 that first uncovered the extent of non-performing assets in the Indian banking industry. In a bid to boost digital payments, the Reserve Bank Governor Shaktikanta Das has launched a digital campaign, Har Payment Digital. This comes at a time when digital transactions have seen a 50% jump from 24 crores per day in Feb of 2022 to 36 crores a day in February of 2023. Speaking at the launch event, the governor said that a recent pan-India digital payment survey covering 90,000 respondents revealed that 42% of the respondents have used digital payments. He added that UPI has now emerged as the most popular and preferred payment mode in India, accounting for 75% of the total digital payments. Here's another exclusive tonight. The government has been holding discussions and providing some relief on taxing annual life insurance premiums beyond 5 lakhs. Yash joins us now with the latest. Yash, what are you hearing? Any forward movement on the talks?
Well, Shireen, since the time the announcement was made in the budget on taxing long-term savings life insurance policies, there were many questions. The first question itself was on the mode of the taxation, and one question which persisted was who gets to choose the policy which will get taxed under this 5 lakh limit. Now, of course, companies gave divergent views, but it's not just the companies. The government is also not decided on what will be the mode of selection and who gets to select the policies which get taxed. Now, what we've been given to understand from our sources is that the government is seeking views in terms of, the straightlining this particular confusion in terms of who selects the policy. Would it be the policy holder who selects the policy that get taxed or not? The second information that we're getting from our sources is essentially on the limit of 5 lakh rupees. Of course, various companies had made representation to the government in terms of raising this limit. The government is again discussing within itself in terms of if this limit can be raised, and there are merits in the argument from the industry. The two options are either to raise it to 7 lakh or 10 lakh. But it'll be very interesting to see the course of events that the government takes on both these calls.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. Encouraging data from the auto sector, retail vehicle sales up 16% to around 1.8 million units in Feb. This comes ahead of festival and the wedding season. According to the Federation of Auto Dealers, all categories have seen a double-digit growth, but important to note that these numbers are still 8% lower than February of 2020, so still lower than the pre-pandemic levels. The Centre for Disease Control and Prevention, that's America's public health agency, has linked the death of at least 70 children in Gambia to cough syrups likely to have been manufactured by Indian company Maiden Pharma. The Indian government, remember, had given a clean chit to Maiden Pharma. Ekta joins us now with more details. Ekta, take us through what the US CDC is saying.
The US Center for Disease Control has linked the death of at least 70 children last year to medicines contaminated with diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol. The report suggests the cough syrups were likely to be manufactured by Indian company Maiden Pharma that were imported into Gambia, causing acute kidney injury cases amongst the children. The Indian government has given a clean chit to Maiden Pharma in December last year. The US CDC report follows a report by the government panel in Gambia in December last year that recommended prosecution of the Indian manufacturer of the cough syrups. The WHO, remember, had issued an alert in October of last year advising regulators to stop the sale of the syrups in question. In what highlights the possible linkage to Maiden Pharma, the US CDC in their report says that all the caregivers interviewed had reported that the child in their care had consumed a prescription or over-the-counter syrup-based medication. And while many caregivers they interviewed were unable to recall the names of the medications that were administered, a single international manufacturer that produced a syrup-based medication was reported by 8 of the 14 caregivers in question. Further on, the lab analysis of 23 samples conducted by Gambia's Ministry of Health and WHO confirmed that 4 products from Maiden Pharma contained the contaminants, and all medications had tested positive from the substance were imported into Gambia on June 21st of last year, shortly before the occurrence of the first case of acute kidney injury. The CDC says this was one of the first documented DEG outbreaks in which contaminated medicines were imported. It aims to point to a larger concern of DEG mass poisonings continuing to occur globally, especially in low-resource settings. For example, such cases have been documented in Panama, Nigeria, India, and Haiti. In the past, manufacturers have been suspected of substituting DEG in place of safer but more expensive pharma-grade solvents. According to US CDC, these DEG-associated large-scale poisoning events can be strengthened via international regulatory structures in place in the pharmaceutical industry and surveillance systems that could be event-based.
Ekta, many thanks for joining us. And staying with the pharma sector, the centre has recommended UP's drug regulator to cancel the manufacturing license of Marion Biotech. The company has been accused of supplying adulterated cough syrups to Gambia that caused the deaths of several children. The decision comes after the state's drug controlling and regulatory authority found 22 of the 36 testing samples adulterated with ethylene glycol. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 the regulators have also directed Marion Biotech to recall products from abroad. A quick check of some of the other headlines this evening. The Indian Met Department has issued a thunderstorm and heavy rain warning for several parts of Maharashtra, including Nasik, Jalgaon and Pune for the next 72 hours. The IMD had already forecast rainfall across several parts of central and western India till the 8th of March. BJP's Manik Saha gets another term as Tripura's chief minister. The decision was taken at a meeting of Tripura's newly elected BJP legislators. A CBI team questioned former Bihar Chief Minister Rabri Devi at her residence in connection with the land for jobs case. The alleged scam occurred between 2004 and 2009 when Ladu Yadav was the railway minister. No relief for Manish Sisodia yet in the Delhi Excise Police. A special court has sentenced him to judicial custody till the 20th of March after CBI says they do not demand further custody. He has been sent to Tihar jail. China has set a modest economic growth target of 5% as its national legislature began its annual session. The defense budget has been hiked by over 7%. According to Wall Street Journal, China is also going to create a new government agency to centralize China's data storage and address security concerns. Eunice Yoon joins us now from Beijing with more. Eunice, many thanks for joining us. Time for us to head into a short break, but up next, Sania Mirza tells young girls to be their own cheerleaders and grow a thick skin. A special conversation when we return. Well, 41-year-old Deepa Thakur is a Deputy Secretary at the Maharashtra Women's Commission. Deepa cleared the Maharashtra Public Service Commission in 2007 and has been serving as a government officer for the last 16 years, dealing with various crimes against women on the occasion of International Women's Day. And as part of our latest initiative, Future Female Forward, a women's collective, Santiagora brings you Deepa's story.
A fourth-generation bureaucrat, 41-year-old Deepa Thakur is no stranger to the life of a government officer. Currently serving as Deputy Secretary in the Maharashtra Women's Commission, Deepa says she's joined the family business, one started by her family when the British ruled India.
मैं फोर्थ जनरेशन हूँ गवर्नमेंट जॉब में, तो ब्रिटिश एरा में भी मेरी नाना जी की बुआ एजुकेशन ऑफिसर हुआ करती, तो 4 डिस्ट्रिक्ट की वो ऑफिसर थी. और फिर मेरी मदर है, नानी, तो ये सब लोग थे. फादर भी तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर ही थे.
Deepa's work is not like any that her family has done. On a daily basis, she deals with cases of women who have survived various crimes ranging from domestic violence to dowry harassment to sexual crimes. A big hurdle for women, she says, is that gender equality is a concept that's often either ignored completely or exists only on paper. It's a bias she herself faced at the start of her career.
ये मेरा जब MPSC का इंटरव्यू था ना, मुझे ऐसे पूछा गया था कि हमें तो लग रहा है एजुकेशन वाइज हम बहुत आगे निकल चुके हैं, लड़कियों को बहुत सारी फैसिलिटीज़ हैं, बहुत सारी योजनाएं हैं, तो आपको भी यही लगता होगा। तो मैंने कहा देखिए ऐसा है ना, मेरे साथ मेरे कोई और भी बॉय अगर कोई कम्पीट कर रहा है, अगर वो इसमें क्लियर नहीं भी करता है तो उसे हाँ उसका अटेम्प्ट नहीं हुआ, लेकिन हमारे लिए मेरे लिए ऐसे कि मैं अगर ये नहीं करती तो मुझे शादी के लिए प्रेशर मेरा माउंट हो सकता है, लेकिन लड़के के लिए ऐसे कुछ नहीं है। उसका करियर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है एनीवेज, लेकिन लड़की के लिए तुम्हारा टाइम में शादी होना, तुम्हारा करियर, पूरा टाइमलाइन सोसाइटी ने डिसाइड कर रखा होता है लड़की के लिए, ऐसे है।
Deepa believes it's the mindset that has to change if social reforms are to truly take hold and India is to become a country that walks the talk of equality. This is especially true, she says, for survivors of crimes against women, where empathy, compassion and respect can tip the balance and help ease the uphill battle these survivors face to reacclimate to life in society and overcome the trauma they have faced.
सोसाइटी के लिए एक बहुत छोटी छोटी बातें हैं, जैसे आप वो विक्टिम का सुन लीजिए, उस पर बिलीव कीजिए और छोटे छोटे चीज़ों में उसको हेल्प कीजिए, बस इससे भी उसका कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ जाएगा और शी विल फील बिट रिलैक्स। बस यही ज़्यादा बहुत बड़ी बात है।
Deepa firmly believes that understanding, support and empathy is the key to deal with the survivors of crimes against women. Deepa says that the more we show collective compassion to women survivors, the further we move towards a society where women can live without fear and prejudice, and that's the key to a society free of gender bias and discrimination. And we at CNBC-TV18 thank Deepa Thakur for her service. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, you have to be your own cheerleader. That was tennis legend Sania Mirza's message to young girls as she bids adieu to tennis after a glittering career. Sania Mirza is a 6-time doubles Grand Slam champion, and she's called on young girls to develop, and I quote, a thick skin. I spoke with her, and this was her message to young aspiring girls and women.
Biggest strength that you can have, belief in yourself. And if you're not your biggest cheerleader, God knows there's nobody else out there, because especially as young girls, you know, and playing a sport, like I'm just trying to draw a parallel, anytime you try and start doing something new, you're more often told you cannot do something than you can. You know, and that is just how it works. That's the nature that we live in and the society we live in. The minute you say, I want to do something outside of that, but what makes you think you can do it? Nobody's ever done it. I mean, yeah, nobody's ever been #1 in the world from our country, but I got there, you know. So that is the belief that you need to have, that you are, you know, how to become the best version of yourself, how to get the best out of yourself.
You know, you're in the public eye, you're being scrutinized, you're being judged, you're being evaluated. Every single decision of yours on the court, off the court is up for discussion and national debate. How do you develop that thick skin where you say it's okay for me to make the choices that I'm making without seeking external validation?
Actually, at 36 today, I can tell you that it's a lot easier. But trust me, when you put a 16-year-old, that's when I first had my first tryst with media, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, like all my friends are just worried about how to bunk school and meet boys at a coffee shop, and I'm here sitting in front of a, you know, press conference, and they're asking me questions about world, and I'm like, what am I doing, you know? It's very...
And you can catch the entire conversation with tennis legend Sania Mirza at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18. And for those of you in Maharashtra, here's wishing all our viewers a very happy Holi. And for the rest of India, well, 8th is when the rest of India will be celebrating Holi. So we will wish you then again. Thanks very much for watching.
तेरा नाम तुझे